All this time, we've been waiting on Chennedy Carter to take responsibility for what
points a game. She was arguably the Chicago Sky's best player last year. And, I mean, I don't know what's going to be a wake-up call. I would hope Chennedy Carter would turn her focus of all of her anger into something positive and she would become a great WNBA player. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen this season. It looks like her conduct has gotten her booted out of the league, and she may not be officially blackballed, blacklisted, but it looks like she's blacklisted. And she will be playing professional basketball during the season.
When Chennedy Carter exposed Angel Reese's brutal 42.4% layup percentage, the WNBA world realized this wasn't just petty drama, it was open warfare. What started as subtle shade exploded into a full-blown rivalry that would rip the Chicago Sky apart from the inside out. And trust me, once you see how deep the favoritism, locker room chaos, and league-wide fallout really goes, you'll never look at this season the same way again.
To this back on the 19th, I just realized Chennedy Carter would still be the best scorer on the Chicago Sky. One less thing. That's right. She would still be probably their best pure offensive weapon if she was still on that team.
Forget the headlines about Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark. The real chaos? It's exploding deep inside the Chicago Sky locker room, and it's messier than anyone's willing to admit. Behind the polished interviews and fake smiles, a full-blown storm has been building between Angel Reese and Chennedy Carter, and now it's blowing up for the entire WNBA world to watch. This isn't just petty drama, it's a scandal that's tearing apart a franchise from the inside out.
She's not in the league right now. There's going to be a team that calls her up very soon. I mean, this very, very soon. Because what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a team somewhere in the WNBA that they're going to start off the season, they're going to expect to make the playoffs, and they're going to start off season 4 and 7.
Chennedy Carter wasn't supposed to be the villain. After putting up 17.5 points per game, she looked like a rising star, someone any team would fight to keep. But Chicago didn't just let her walk. They slammed the door shut without even offering her a qualifying contract. No meeting. No thanks for your efforts. Just a cold, brutal exit. Fans were confused, some even outraged, but insiders already knew what the public didn't. The Sky's locker room had been a ticking time bomb for months.
You had a chance to show the world what you were capable of. To show his fans what you are capable of, to show the WNBA old guard what you are capable of, to show all of the haters what you are capable of. Everybody who says you should keep her ass in China, show them what you are capable of. Everybody who says you need to go play in Australia.
And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more obvious, Angel Reese poured gasoline all over the fire. Hours after Carter's sudden departure, Reese threw out a cryptic social media post, no names, but the message was loud and clear. It was a shot, and it didn't take long for fans, players, and commentators to start connecting the dots.
Is not somebody that has a filter. Not someone that has a filter at all. And I cannot believe that she's not in the WNBA. Like, I understand that she can be a little bit toxic as a teammate.
Carter didn't stay silent either. She clapped back, and not just with words. She attacked where it hurt most, Reese's performance, highlighting Angel's embarrassingly low layup percentage, the worst in the league for a player her size. Carter exposed what Chicago had been trying to hide all season. But the real mess wasn't playing out on Twitter, it was rotting from within. Reports soon leaked that the Sky locker room wasn't just divided, it was toxic. Players whispered about favoritism, about game plans being built around Angel Reese while veterans were treated like disposable side characters. Imagine working your entire career to reach the WNBA, only to realize your team treats you like a background prop for a rookie's highlight reel. Resentment festered, trust crumbled, and any dream of a unified team went up in smoke. It didn't stop there. Players who escaped the Sky didn't stay quiet either. Marina Mabrey, now thriving with the Connecticut Sun, made it crystal clear she wasn't missing Chicago, dropping hints about professionalism and discipline she simply didn't experience with the Sky. And let's be honest, when player after player bolts under mysterious circumstances, it stops being a coincidence. It becomes a pattern. Chicago doesn't just have a problem, they have a full-blown culture crisis, and it's getting harder to sweep it under the rug. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's social media games are starting to backfire. Instead of leading her team on the court, she's building a brand off drama. And Chennedy Carter? She's not going quietly into the night. If she finds a new team, locks in, and keeps balling the way she did before the chaos, Chicago's front office is going to look like the biggest fools in the league. They didn't just lose a rising star, they handed her over to someone else on a silver platter. The worst part? This fallout isn't over. It's only just beginning. Every free agent is watching. Every coach is taking notes. Chicago Sky's name is now synonymous with dysfunction, and unless something changes fast, they're going to struggle to sign top talent for years to come. Players talk, reputations stick, and no amount of flashy social media posts can cover up a franchise in freefall. While Angel Reese keeps trying to silence critics with tweets instead of buckets, and while Chicago pretends everything's fine, the rest of the league is moving on. And Chennedy Carter? She might just turn her exit into the ultimate revenge story, leaving the Sky behind in the wreckage they built themselves.
Again, Chennedy Carter is, no matter what, like, I think if you ask Chennedy Carter who's the best player in the world, she'd say Chennedy Carter. But, like, I'm not gonna lie, anyone who's played sport has been around people with the mentality towards sport of a Chennedy Carter. For Chennedy Carter, like, you know people with that mentality.
For anyone paying close attention, the warning signs were always there. Chennedy Carter's career wasn't just about scoring points, it was tangled with drama, suspensions, and locker rooms that couldn't seem to hold together when she was around. Her time with the Atlanta Dream started with promise but ended in disaster, with Carter getting suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. A polite way of saying things behind the scenes had gone completely off the rail. Even after a change of scenery with the Los Angeles Sparks, the problems followed her like a shadow. Performance dipped, tensions flared, and soon enough, Carter was out of the league altogether, spending an entire year on the sidelines while everyone else moved on without her. You would think a year away would spark some change. You would think a second chance with the Chicago Sky would be different. But history doesn't just vanish because you swap jerseys.
Things that, I love it though. They think I hate it. I love it. I love when it gets riled up.
You love that
like what people say and shit, and it makes you
Oh
more
yeah,
motivated.
that's what I'm telling you. Oh yeah.
You love that you assaulted Caitlin Clark, bruh.
I love the hate. I
Hell
love that.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I cannot believe what I just watched, bro. Are you serious?
Instead of a fresh start, old habits crept right back in. Insiders whispered about Carter's struggles with teammates, her cold attitude during practices, and a locker room so divided you could practically draw a battle line. On the surface, she put up good numbers, but behind closed doors, the chemistry was breaking down fast. Players were walking on eggshells. Coaches were biting their tongues. And yet again, Carter found herself at the center of a storm she helped create. Chicago thought they were getting a spark. Instead, they got a wildfire they couldn't control. The Sky weren't just dealing with tough losses on the scoreboard, they were fighting battles inside their own house. Whispers about Carter's attitude turned into full-blown complaints. Meetings were held. Management was flooded with concerns. And when push came to shove, Chicago didn't blink. They decided it was easier to rip off the Band-Aid than keep pretending things were fine. What's worse is that Carter's history made it almost impossible to defend her. Teams aren't blind. They talk. They remember. And when a player builds a reputation for tearing teams apart from the inside, it doesn't matter how many points they score, the trust is gone. Chicago wasn't the first team to give up on Carter, and if she doesn't change fast, they definitely won't be the last. But even with Carter out the door, the damage was done. The Sky locker room was already cracked, and Carter's exit didn't magically fix it. If anything, it exposed just how unstable things had gotten. A franchise once known for grit and heart was now becoming a soap opera, and the blame wasn't just falling on Carter's shoulders. It was spilling all over the organization that thought they could manage the unmanageable.
She's fine. There was no, like, when she was talking about the trolls and stuff in this, there was no playing victim. There was no playing victim. It was almost like a, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Type thing, like, you know what, I'll be the villain.
And the story wasn't finished yet, because while Carter packed up and moved on, the drama she left behind would keep haunting Chicago, a painful reminder that some problems don't just walk away quietly. If anyone thought Chennedy Carter was going to take the high road, they seriously underestimated her. Instead of staying quiet or brushing off the drama, Carter went straight for the jugular, and she didn't miss. With one brutal post, she exposed a stat so embarrassing that Angel Reese couldn't hide from it even if she tried. A layup percentage of just 42.4%, the worst in the WNBA for a player her size, thrown out for the world to see. Like a dirty secret ripped from the locker room and plastered on every social media feed. Carter wasn't hinting. She wasn't dancing around the issue. She was dragging it straight into the spotlight and daring anyone to challenge her. In one move, she flipped the script, turning what could have been written off as subtle shade into an undeniable open rivalry. No more guessing games. No more cryptic emojis. Carter made sure that if Reese wanted to throw shots, she better be ready to take the heat too. And the timing? Brutal. Carter didn't just drop the stat randomly, she dropped it right as Chicago was still reeling from the backlash of letting her go. She wasn't just calling out Angel's weaknesses, she was rubbing salt in the wounds of a franchise already drowning in bad press. For fans who had been fed non-stop hype about Reese's potential, seeing cold, hard numbers laid out like that felt like a slap of reality no one could ignore. Worse, Carter didn't stop with one blow. She doubled down, posting another message that hit even deeper. Not everyone deserves your loyalty. No names, sure, but by now, the target was crystal clear. It wasn't just about stats anymore. It was about trust. It was about betrayal. And Carter was letting the world know exactly how she felt about the team and the people who had turned their backs on her. What made it even more devastating was that Carter wasn't lying. The numbers didn't lie. The locker room tension didn't lie. And when a player calls out the supposed future star of a franchise and backs it up with facts, it hits different. Suddenly, Angel Reese wasn't just battling a former teammate, she was battling her own performance receipts. And there was no clever Instagram post that could erase that. The fallout was instant. Fans took side. Commentators weighed in. Some tried to defend Reese, but deep down, everyone knew Carter had exposed a crack that couldn't be patched with PR statements or smiling photo shoots. For a rookie trying to build a brand, getting torched by a former teammate was the last thing Reese needed, but exactly what Carter wanted. And if anyone thought this war was going to die down quietly, they were dead wrong, because Carter had fired the first real shot. And Angel Reese? She had two choices: step up and prove everyone wrong on the court, or get swallowed by the growing narrative that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't ready for the spotlight after all. Once Carter ripped the lid off the situation, there was no putting the chaos back in the box. Whispers that had once been private locker room gripes were now spilling out into the open like a dam had finally burst. It wasn't just about Carter anymore. It wasn't just about Angel Reese's missed layups. It was about a team crumbling from the inside. A team where favoritism wasn't just suspected, it was practically policy. Behind the scenes, players were furious. Multiple insiders revealed that former head coach Teresa Weatherspoon wasn't treating all players equally. Instead, the focus was laser-locked on boosting Angel Reese's stats, even if it meant throwing team chemistry straight into the trash. Game plans were quietly adjusted to showcase Reese at every turn, while other key players were sidelined like afterthoughts. You didn't need a team meeting to notice it. It was obvious on the court. And the resentment? It grew louder with every game. The trust inside the locker room shattered fast. Veterans who had fought for every minute on the floor suddenly found themselves stuck on the bench, watching Reese get minutes she hadn't earned, touches she hadn't deserved, and praise she hadn't backed up. Players stopped believing in the system. They stopped believing in the leadership. And worse, they started believing the rumors that Chicago was no longer about winning. It was about protecting a brand. And if you think players didn't notice, think again. The quiet eye rolls in practice, the side conversations after meetings, the pointed comments on social media that didn't name names, but didn't have to. Everyone knew who they were about. Angel Reese wasn't just a teammate anymore. She had become a symbol of everything that was wrong with the sky: favoritism, dysfunction, and a front office too blind or too scared to fix it. Even players who had once been Reese's biggest supporters started backing away. Some asked for trades. Some went public with cryptic posts about real teams and professional environment. Some just vanished without a goodbye. One by one, the foundation Chicago thought they were building cracked apart, leaving behind a roster full of frustration, fake smiles, and silent resentment. Management could pretend all they wanted that things were fine, post all the polished photos, run all the scripted interviews, but the truth was written all over the court, and now, thanks to Carter's savage clapback, it was written all over the internet too. Chicago wasn't a rising team anymore. They were a cautionary tale. And if you think the drama ends there, you might want to buckle up, because what happened next would turn Chicago's season and reputation completely upside down. If Chennedy Carter plays her next move right, she won't just revive her career, she'll make Chicago's mistake look legendary. Right now, every team in the league is watching. Every coach, every scout, every GM who passed on her before is rethinking whether they just witnessed a player's downfall or the setup for one of the biggest revenge arcs the WNBA has ever seen. Carter's numbers on the court were never the problem. She's explosive, relentless, and fearless in ways you can't teach. Her biggest enemy was always the noise around her, the rumors, the drama, the messy locker rooms. But if she lands in the right environment, one with leadership that knows how to channel her fire without smothering it, she could go from being seen as trouble to being seen as unstoppable. One good season is all it would take to flip the entire narrative on its head. Imagine Carter averaging 18 points a game, hitting clutch shots, and locking down defenders while Chicago sits at home watching highlights of the player they couldn't control. Every basket would be a reminder. Every win would be a message. The Sky didn't just lose a scorer, they lost a star they couldn't figure out how to handle. And it wouldn't stop there. Carter's comeback would do more than just embarrass Chicago. It would give every player who's ever been labeled difficult a blueprint for how to flip the script. Stay quiet. Stay locked in. Let your game do the talking. If Carter shines somewhere else, she becomes the proof that the problem wasn't her, it was the environment she was trapped in. Meanwhile, Chicago would be stuck answering ugly questions they don't have easy answers for. Why couldn't they fix the locker room? Why couldn't they manage one of their best scorers? Why did they let another franchise scoop her up and turn her into the success story they were too dysfunctional to create? And Angel Reese? She'd be left standing in the middle of the wreckage, still trying to figure out why the fans who once cheered her name are now whispering about whether she was ever really ready for the pressure that came with the spotlight. Because the brutal truth is, if Carter finds her footing and starts dominating again, the Chicago Sky aren't just going to look foolish. They're going to look like the team that sabotaged its own future and handed a blueprint for success to everybody else in the league. What started as a messy breakup between Chennedy Carter and the Chicago Sky isn't just a team problem anymore, it's a flashing warning sign for the entire WNBA. The league prides itself on growth, on professionalism, on being the next big thing in sports. But the truth is, behind the polished commercials and carefully scripted interviews, cracks are starting to show. And this situation in Chicago just exposed every single one of them. In today's WNBA, it's not just about who can shoot, defend, or hustle. It's about who can win the public battle online. One wrong tweet, one cryptic post, one shady comment liked by the wrong person, and suddenly, careers are hanging by a thread. Social media isn't just where fans argue anymore, it's where players fight for respect, where management plays favorites, and where entire teams can get torn apart without a single game being played. The Chicago mess proved it. Favoritism isn't some hidden conspiracy whispered about in back rooms, it's happening in plain sight. Teams are bending over backward to protect marketable players while throwing their workhorses under the bus. Locker rooms that should be built on trust and respect are being ripped apart by jealousy, resentment, and clout chasing. And the worst part? Fans see it, players see it. And if the WNBA keeps pretending it's not a problem, the damage will be. The league's image is at a crossroads. Either it learns from the mistakes playing out in real time, the favoritism, the backroom politics, the obsession with image over substance, or it risks becoming a reality show disguised as professional sports. And once that line gets crossed, there's no turning back. Because scandals fade, headlines get buried, but reputations? Those scars stay forever. And right now, the WNBA is carving out one it may not be able to erase. If you're ready to follow every twist in this rivalry, every record-breaking night, and every moment that could redefine the sport, hit that subscribe button now. We're just getting started. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.